as a country, all of us must begin to appreciate that there's always a right way of doing things. No matter the justifications we can give for doing those things wrongly, but there's always a right way. And if you do the things the right way, no one is going to complain. No one is going to complain. When MPP was in power, and it would be foolhardy for anybody to think that we never got information about threats to this country as NDC. But our names were never mentioned, that we had said we were holding press conferences to say that this was happening. Because we knew that the person put in charge of national security was Kan Dapa. And so if we live here and call Kan Dapa and ask them whether they had been threats facing this country, and Inusah Fuseini has relayed what he heard about those threats to him. That's how we develop a country. Because we are united in our identity as Ghanaians. And what is killing us in Ghana is excessive partisan politics. And so when somebody does something wrong, we're not prepared to condemn that person. We want to justify it. I think that we should move, and in the next few days you will see reports from credible organizations say that why we are retrogressing in our democracy is because of excessive partisan politics. We'll come to it. For instance, the ECG. Why all of us are blaming each other and not talking about the over $400 million. Nobody's talking about that money. But who did what and who did what? That's what we are doing to ourselves. And it is the same thing like the aircraft thing. Ghana has a stance against illicit drug trade. When you go back to Rawlins, you come to Kufuor, you know the Vacais case. Vacais, the Venezuelans. They were arrested during the time of Kufuor. You know the Amartin's case? Eric Martin. They had to remove him from parliament. You remember the MV Benjamin? That should tell us that we don't tolerate. Just recently, $350 million worth of narcotic drugs, cocaine, was intercepted by the security. You think the security just got up and had the information? Or they were randomly searching vehicles? You think that's what happened? No, Sabo. Kaladan, no. A dutiful and respected citizen of this country thought that it was wrong for somebody to be continuing to engage in illicit drug. And even though the drugs, the $350 million worth of cocaine was hidden under trees of sand, the intelligence agencies got it. Not that they went for soothsaying, but a responsible citizen decided to trigger the right channels to intercept the drug. That is all that we are talking about when we say that Ntim Fodjour did not do well. You don't fight crime by holding press conferences. No one has ever succeeded in fighting crime by holding press conferences. And the cases I have cited, if you go back and talk to the intelligence people, they will tell you how they came by the information. And the people, in my view, who hold the highest responsibility of helping the state to combat illicit drugs are the members of parliament, because they represent the entire people of this country. All of us should have been sitting in parliament, but just the sheer enormity of the logistics that will be required for all of us to be taking decisions concerning us, we decided that we will petition this country into constituencies and elect one person to represent the constituency. So if a member of parliament comes into information, which information will secure the welfare, the interests, and benefit his constituents, he has a duty to pass on the information to the relevant authorities. This is what we are asking for. But in my view, it marks of irresponsibility to put information in public and ask the investigative authorities to go search for this thing. I mean, if at the time that even that information was put in the public domain, the aircrafts were not even one of the aircrafts had even left the country at the time that the information was given. Two, I also think that when you make such an allegation and convinced that the allegation is true, you must, as a responsible citizen of this country, collaborate with the investigative authorities to establish the veracity of the claim. Maybe, Sabo, just assuming, because he doesn't work at the airport, not so. So we are entitled to assume that he also came by the information, because he doesn't work at the airport. So who passed the information to him? How did he come by the information? How did he assess the information? Was that person who gave him the information credible? All this we won't know. Me and you won't know. Was it a question of propaganda? That looks, there's these aircrafts that have come and they have landed in this country. They are there ostensibly for this purpose, but there could be more to it than meet the eye. Then he runs to town with there could be more to it than meet the eye. Then starts conjecturing. They were here for other reasons other than changing. Is it what happened? I tell you, when we were in opposition, there's a famous investor in this country. His aircrafts brought in items. It was rumored all over the place that those items were guns. And people came to us with the information. But you ask yourself, if the aircraft brought in guns, was the person giving us the information thinking that all those working at the airport, including the security establishment, were all MPP? Are we entitled to believe that way? And that none of the security guys who were there intercepted it or gave this information? Are we entitled to believe that way? Because we have put premium on politics, partisan politics. And people are now rent seekers. The poverty levels in this country say that if you get the information and you don't sieve it, one of your uncles used to say, your brother, in fact, your brother, Mbeshane of Atnyuane, he used to say that information is like flour. When you receive it, the flour, you must sieve it. If you don't sieve it, the day you want to use it, you realize that it is not good for purpose. It's not fit for purpose. Jamel, you must sieve it. I believe that if Ntim Fodjour, and he's a reverend, our father, he met me in Parliament. His first time in Parliament, I was in Parliament. Very gentle. At that time, he was learning the rudiments of parliamentary practice, and you could see that he was serious in wanting to know what Parliament was all about. I will crave his indulgence and the indulgence of all members of Parliament, particularly the new ones in Parliament. It is contempt of Parliament to hold a press conference not sanctioned by the Speaker, because that committee is the committee of the Speaker. It's a committee of a speaker. The committee doesn't stand on its own. And the committee, when they want to take on a matter of national importance, that matter must first of all be brought onto the floor of the House, debated, and the speaker will refer the matter to the committee. The committee cannot speak on the matter publicly until they return to the speaker with their final report. So you cannot, by any stretch of imagination, be arrogating to yourselves the power to determine when to make information at the committee level available to the public. Even, you remember the removal of IGP. It was telecast live. But did you ever hear the report? Did you ever hear the report? No. But it was telecast live. The parliament doesn't work that way. In fact, yesterday, as I said, Comrade Pratt sent me one of the statements of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He said, freedom without laws is anarchy. That's what Nkrumah said. I speak of freedom. The freedom to say what you want, without laws constraining and regulating and guiding what you say, will lead us to anarchy. You know what happened in Rwanda? It was the freedom to say what you want that certain group of people were described as cockroaches. And what do you do with cockroaches? You exterminate them. That's what you do with cockroaches, not so. So, yes, we should have the freedom, but that freedom should be exercised within the ambit of the law. Even if a minority member of parliament, ranking member, and I have been chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee at a point, and I have been ranking member of the same committee. My brother, at the same thing, he's been ranking member, he's been chairman. Even if a committee meets and the general consensus has been captured in the report, and the minority members of the committee decide that they have a different view or position on the matter, that minority view, you can't say it outside. It must reflect in that report, and that report, when it is presented to Parliament, then it is now made public for all of us to hear. But at that point, the worst you can do is to say that we have disagreed with certain portions of the report, but you can't say which portions. That's why when you look at the new standing orders, there's a penalty in the new standing orders for bringing to the public matters in Parliament that have not yet been subject to parliamentary debate and discussion. So that is where I find the Ntim Fodjour's defense, as speaking as ranking member, quite worrisome. His conduct, behavior, and the way he approaches things must be consistent with the standing orders that regulates the conduct of members of parliament. Because when you don't do that, and you know, when we're in parliament, it is precisely because of this that the Parliamentary Ethics Committee was established. Somebody could come to Parliament, just give on a lighter note, with a kind of dressing that you simply couldn't understand. And he's going to sit in Parliament, and the TVs are going to do what? Capture. And you know what that does? When the TV captures that person and is inappropriately dressed, that lowers Parliament in the estimation of right-thinking men. So at all times, the dignity of Parliament must be protected. And that is why in these discussions, I've chosen to say that let's all agree that there are certain institutions of state that we have established for the purpose of bringing development to us. When we, by our actions, work to weaken those institutions, that the institutions will not deliver the promise of the Constitution, blessings of liberty. And now he's being invited. He's now running away. That because of what he has said, the blessings of liberty is now under threat. The blessings of equality of opportunity and the prosperity of the country. When the institutions are weak, they can't deliver it. And these are the democratic dividends. Yes, the defeat of the MPP has come to MPP as a shock. And Sabo, yes, in 2016, we also made these arguments. That if you looked at the 2016 results and took it to Volta region, you will see that MPP only got that number because Volta region people did not come out to vote. But the truth is that something must have happened to prevent your people from coming out to vote. What caused the apathy? Was it dissatisfaction with the way your government was ruling the country? After all, we don't have a civic duty. In fact, we have a civic responsibility, but not duty. In fact, in other places, the right to vote, voting is regulated by law. If you don't vote and you have no good reason for the reason why you have not voted, you go to jail. But here, you can choose to vote or not vote. So if your people have chosen not to vote, there should be something. And that is why your attention must be directed to. And not justifying why the NDC cannot claim that they defeated because your people didn't come to vote. This is the argument we always say. And the received wisdom in the established democracies is that opposition don't win elections. Governing parties lose elections. So you lost election 2024. And when you lose elections, you must go back to the drawing board and do sober reflection, introspection, like ABF Fuseini, Tizador Pyombela, ABF Fuseini has said. Do introspection and take steps that will restore the confidence of the generality of Ghanaians in you, so that you can come back. But if you don't do that and you continue on this path of recklessness, of irresponsible behavior, it will be difficult.